The Aster protocol is Binance's answer to Hyperliquid. Perpetual futures trading, so that's what both Aster and Hyperliquid offers, is a sector within crypto that tends to grow much faster than the rest. Now, the price of Aster recently rallied, and it's not because of the news you might read somewhere, as in AI trading or whale movements. What's actually going on is a tokenomics update. So there's now a buyback program. 99% of Aster's daily platform fees are now getting used to buy back Aster. And that recently equates to roughly $200,000 every single day. So do we have an opportunity here that most people are overlooking? Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active trading of altcoins. My track record is in the link down below. In the last 2 years, I started to publish my trades in real time. That led to an annualized performance of 47%, and we are currently at an all-time high. This dotted line over here, that's the current open positions, which of course I cannot share here on YouTube. That's exclusive to the premium members. But I'm showing this at the beginning of the video just to be transparent, because I think most people here on YouTube, they're not willing to share their actual trading data. Now, what kind of impact does the buyback program really have? Let's have a look at the numbers, because the headlines always sound great, but let's dive into what we can actually expect in terms of price appreciation. Because while we do have $200,000 to $300,000 worth of revenue per day recently, we used to have much more in the past. The capital that's on the Aster protocol also shot up and came back down. And that's because of the airdrop. There used to be a very aggressive airdrop campaign. So people tended to just open up positions on Aster protocol and then maybe the opposing position on Hyperliquid just to farm the airdrop. Now, the airdrop program has been slowed down, and with that, a lot of capital has also exited Aster. Now, in general, the perpetual futures market is the right market to bet on, because more and more trading moves from spot to perpetual futures, because that's where the trading fees tend to be much lower. Less trading fees, but yes, more financing fees. But if we trade actively, the perpetual futures are the place to be. We can see, for example, how the open interest of Bitcoin over time grew, while the price of Bitcoin grew less during that same time period. In other words, the growth of bets on crypto is faster than the growth of the underlying asset. That's an even stronger effect with Ethereum. The Ethereum price has just hit a very similar level at the end of 2025 compared to October 2021. The open interest, though, has grown much more, from 4.5 billion all the way up to 70 billion. So there's now much more leverage in the Ethereum price than there used to be. The perpetual futures market is the fastest growing part of all of crypto. And recently that's accelerating even further, because now we get more and more traditional finance assets. So regular stocks and commodities and precious metals becoming tradable on Hyperliquid and Aster. Now let's have a look at the potential upside. The market cap of Aster is 2 billion. The market cap of the competitor, Hyperliquid, is 16 billion. So an 8x difference. Let's compare then the numbers. So the generated fees per day on Hyperliquid are at around 2 million. And again, for Aster, it's at around 200,000. So a 10x difference, while the market cap has an 8x difference. That's quite reasonable. How about the total value locked? So the capital that's on the protocol, for Aster, that's 900 million. For Hyperliquid, that's 6 billion. So again, a 7x difference roughly. It all makes sense, but we can see how the trends are different. Aster does not grow in its capital base, while Hyperliquid definitely is. It's close to the all-time high. And so that then explains the long-term trend of the Aster price relative to the Hyperliquid price. That's what we see over here. Aster divided by Hype. Long-term, Aster tended to underperform. Now, does this mean that we now have a potential to outperform by another 80%? Something meaningful has to happen. A program that incentivizes to use Aster to attract more capital. But what about the tokenomics then? Can that potentially turn things around? That's in the end what caused the recent rally. Let's talk about this in a second. By the way, if you're on x.com, feel free to also check out the account of this channel. Make sure that you follow the right account. So that's this one over here at Bitcoin Strat. That's the only official channel. Make sure that you don't follow any scam account. Now, the success of buyback programs and of burn programs, they're very varied. For example, here we've got Pump.Fun. they also purchased a lot of pump tokens using the revenue. It now adds up to close to 400 million. Still, the pump token relative to the rest of the altcoin market is close to the all-time low. How is it possible that the price of an altcoin underperforms the rest of the market when 400 million worth of value is pumped into buybacks? That's what happened with Pump. The answer is tokenomics, as in new supply hitting the market. Now officially for Pump there was no new supply, but who knows what happened over the counter. Maybe a lot of supply has already been sold to people outside at a discount, and they then hedge that on the Perpetual futures market and thus indirectly depress the Pump price. But this video is not about Pump. This video is about Aster, and Aster is also an inflating cryptocurrency. And now it becomes complex, right? We've got a buyback program, but at the same time, we've got a cryptocurrency that grows in supply over time. Which effect is stronger, the airdrops or the buyback? Here is the answer. The circulating supply over time is actually growing. What's being bought back or burnt over here is supply that has been locked anyways. Nothing happens to the circulating supply of Aster. In other words, Aster stays inflationary. The number of circulating Aster tokens will likely increase. And so I don't think that this long-term trend will change. This is Aster relative to the others' market cap. It also explains why Aster has not seen the run-up some people were expecting. Actually, when we zoom into the recent price development, this was the announcement of the tokenomics improvement, and a lot of those gains have already been lost. At least when we look at Aster relative to hype. The crypto market is becoming smart. The people that are still around and that did not get burnt during this altcoin crash, they know what they're doing. They're skeptical. They research more. Just a pretty headline announcement is not enough anymore to sustainably push a price up. Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics. So on the Binance Smart Chain, we've got 236,000 holders. Now what we see here on the left, that's the number of wallets that have at least 1,000 Aster tokens. So at the current price, that's a bit under $1,000. In the middle, it's 10,000 tokens. On the right, it's 100,000 tokens. We can see how not a single wallet cohort, not the retails, not the whales, are buying into this hype. They are all just offloading long term. Since this is a Perpetual futures exchange, let's have a look at the Perpetual futures data for Aster as well. So on the spot market, we had 105 million worth of trading volume on Binance. On the Perpetual futures market, that's more. That's 540 million. That's on Binance, and on Aster, it's a bit more. The trading volume of Aster on the perps with that announcement did go up. And that was not a classical short squeeze, as in there were not many shorts getting liquidated here at all. And most people on the perps tend to bet on a rising Aster price long term. We have not seen the open interest of the token go up. As in, there's not a lot of leverage, not a lot of speculation with Aster at the moment. Yes, a token like this could always get pumped and dumped, but in my opinion, the current valuation of Aster is still slightly above where it should be. Because if we just compare trading volumes, if we just compare total value locked, so the capital on the chain, it's now comparable to Hyperliquid, but Hyperliquid's long-term path from here is very much bullish. Everything goes up. That's not true for the Aster protocol. When we've got two projects and one of them is 10 times larger than the other one, and the larger one has a growth rate while the other one tends to shrink, of course, the larger project should be worth more than 10 times compared to the smaller one. We're not looking at the current state. We are forward looking. We have to price in the growth, or the negative growth in that case. This tokenomics update of Aster was just an attempt to pump the price. And yes, it did do that for a moment, but then reality came back once people actually did their research. Please don't just follow the headlines. That's how you get pumped and dumped. Do your proper research. And so if you want to know what I trade, and if you want to copy trade this in real time, then feel free to check out Premium. The current positions are of course not shown here on YouTube, but everything is posted over here. And everything can be verified, right? You just click on those dates and then you get the message that's here in Telegram where we opened the position. That was for Pudgy Penguins after a rally. And then we shorted the token and closed that short over here. That's just one of many examples. All of this can be verified. And not everything is a winner, but the long-term trend, of course, is what matters. The trades can also be followed via email. If you don't like Telegram, if you don't even have time to copy trade, then you can also follow the automatic copy trading. That achieved 44% last year. We are targeting 44 again this year. So far, we are halfway there. The automatic altcoin copy trading, though, is exclusive to the annual subscribers. So I recommend just starting with the monthly first, make your first returns. I will send you my favorite trade directly after you join. And once you made that money, feel free to then afterwards reinvest that in the annual plan, potentially then with the automatic copy trading, if you don't want to get your hands dirty yourself. So yeah, I stay bearish on Aster for the long term. Of course, short term, there can always be manipulation, but Hyperliquid is really winning this market. If you got some value out of this video and it's the first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you on Premium. Link to that pops up here. Thanks and see you next time. Cheers.